This is Global Signals by Andrew Dremen. Deep dives and insights about retail and FMCG. So, right now, there is this massive illusion happening in European supermarkets.
Yeah, a really big one.
Right, because if you just look at the recent headlines, well, you would think the big national brands are winning again.
Right, the A brands.
Yeah, the A brands. The headlines say they are suddenly winning back all the shopping carts in Europe.
Which is, not the whole story.
No, not at all. Because today we are looking at some new NielsenIQ data. And this data reveals a much darker reality for these big companies.
It really does.
They are not winning shopper loyalty. Not at all. They are actually just, buying a short-term illusion.
Yeah, that is exactly what is happening. I mean, the narrative right now says the A brands are taking over the shelves again.
Right.
But when you actually unpack the mechanics behind those sales numbers, well, a very different picture emerges.
So let's look closely at those exact numbers.
Okay.
I have the NielsenIQ data right here. And this looks at the period from May 2025 to May 2026.
So a full year of data.
Right, exactly. A full year. And at first glance, the data shows A brands gaining value sales. And this is across several key European markets. For example, in Spain, the A brand sales are up 1.7%.
Right.
And in Italy, they're up 1.4%.
Yeah.
And in Great Britain, they're up 1.7%.
So on paper, that looks like a comeback.
Right. But at the same time, we have to look at the private labels.
Yes. The store brands, we have to see what happened to them in those exact same markets.
Well, they dropped. I mean, it's a slight drop, but they're definitely down.
Yeah.
So in Spain, private labels went down 0.3%.
Right.
And in Italy, they went down 0.1%.
Okay.
And in Great Britain, they also went down 0.1%.
Yeah. So they all dipped a little bit.
Exactly. So looking purely at the surface data, I have to ask a direct question here.
Sure.
Does this mean shoppers are becoming loyal to the big brands again?
No, not at all. And that is the core illusion here.
Okay.
Because the A brands are not winning through loyalty. They are not winning because they suddenly have better products or, a better connection with the shopper.
Then how are they getting these positive sales numbers? Because the numbers are going up.
Right. Well, they are basically buying short-term volume.
Buying it. Okay.
Yeah. These companies are taking their trade budgets and they are spending that money on heavy discounts.
So just slashing prices.
Exactly. They are forcing their sales numbers to look good right now, but relying on discounts just to buy volume, that leads directly into a dangerous cycle.
Yeah, and the NielsenIQ data actually has a name for this. They call it the promotion trap.
The promotion trap, yes.
Which, I mean, that sounds terrifying if you are managing a brand right now.
Oh, it is.
Because it means you might be actively training your own customers to devalue your product.
That is exactly what it means.
So can we walk through the actual mechanics of this trap? Like, how does it work?
We can, yeah. So there are 4 specific stages to the promotion trap.
4 stages. Okay.
Right. And every brand that relies on heavy discounting, they go through them. So stage 1 is the trigger.
The trigger. So what triggers the trap?
Well, panic, usually.
Panic.
Yeah. The brands want to get attention and they need to boost their numbers. So they offer a heavy discount.
How heavy are we talking?
We are talking about price cuts of 25% to 35% off.
Wow. 35%. I mean, that is a massive amount to cut from a basic grocery item.
It really is huge. And it costs the manufacturer a lot of money to do this. I mean, it compresses their profit margins immediately.
Right.
So they make very little money on each single unit they sell during this time.
But they do it anyway.
Yeah, they do it because they want to see a spike in sales.
And that leads us to stage 2, right? The spike.
Exactly. Stage 2 is the spike.
Because the data shows that after that heavy discount, there's a sudden jump in sales volume. It goes way up.
Right, because shoppers walk down the aisle. They see a 35% discount on a product.
So they buy it.
Yeah, they buy it and the sales graph shoots up. And then the brand managers, they sit in their offices, they look at this huge spike, and they think they are winning back market share.
But they really aren't winning anything.
No, they aren't.
I mean, looking at the source text, this is just people pantry loading.
Yes.
Like they are buying extra to store in their cupboards. Because it is cheap.
Exactly.
They are not switching brands.
No, that is the perfect way to describe it. They buy 3 units instead of just 1 just to put them away in the pantry.
Right.
So they are completely loyal to the red discount sticker, but they are not loyal to the brand itself.
Wow. Okay, so that behavior, that leads directly to stage 3.
Right. Stage 3 is the habit stage.
The habit. What happens when the shopper forms this habit?
Well, the shopper simply waits for the next promotion.
Ah.
Yeah. They know the product will go on sale again because the brand has trained them to expect it.
So they just wait.
Exactly. They absolutely refuse to buy the product at full price.
Okay.
And when this happens, the baseline sales completely collapse.
Right, so once the promotion ends, the everyday sales just stop.
Correct. The shoppers will only buy that specific item when the red discount tag is back on the shelf.
And if the tag is missing?
If it's missing, they just walk right past it.
I mean, that seems like a terrible position for a consumer brand.
It is. And it gets worse when we reach stage 4.
What is stage 4?
Stage 4 is erosion.
Erosion.
Yes. At this point, the brand loses its price premium permanently.
Meaning the shopper's perception of the product changes entirely.
Yes. The shopper now sees the discounted price as the true value of the product.
Oh, wow. So they don't even believe it's worth the full price anymore.
Exactly. They no longer believe it is worth the full retail price. So the brand has eroded its own value in the mind of the consumer.
That is brutal. So if these A brands are only renting their sales volume right now through these heavy discounts, it makes me wonder about the store brands.
Right, the private labels.
Yeah, like what does the actual long-term baseline look like for the private labels?
Well, to understand the baseline for private labels, we really have to look back at recent history.
Okay.
Specifically, we need to look at the period between 2022 and 2025.
Oh, yeah. That was a rough period.
Yeah.
Because we saw double-digit food inflation across Europe.
Yes, we did. Prices went up incredibly fast.
Yeah.
And this forced millions of households to change their shopping habits. I mean, they had no choice.
Right. They simply could not afford the A brands anymore.
Exactly. So they started trying the store brands.
And that is what drove the private label shares to all-time highs.
It is.
The numbers from that inflation period, they are just staggering.
They really are. Let's look at Spain, for example.
Okay.
During that period, the store brand volume share crossed 50%.
50%.
Yes. This is known in the industry as the Mercadona effect,
Okay.
because it was driven largely by the country's largest retailer heavily pushing their own labels.
So over half of all the volume in Spain became private label.
Yes.
What did the other markets look like during that time?
Well, in the United Kingdom, the private label volume share stabilized near 48% to 50%.
Wow, so almost half there too.
Yeah. And this was not just at one single store. This happened across major grocers like Tesco, Sainsbury's, and Aldi.
Okay. And what about Germany?
Well, Germany is a market heavily influenced by hard discounters.
Right.
So there, the private labels maintained value shares above 40%.
Okay, wait. I want to push back on this a little bit.
Sure.
Because we are talking about these massive historic highs for the private labels.
Right.
But I am looking at the new NielsenIQ data we discussed earlier. And the private labels actually dropped recently.
Yes, they did.
I mean, Spain dropped 0.3%. Italy and the UK dropped 0.1%. So doesn't that contradict the idea of a permanent shift? Like, are we looking at the start of a crash for store brands?
I understand why it looks that way on the surface, but no.
No.
A 0.1% or a 0.3% drop is not a rejection of store brands by the consumer.
Okay, then what is it?
It is just market stabilization.
So they basically hit a ceiling and just leveled off.
Exactly. Think about the timeline here.
Go ahead.
Store brands grew explosively for 3 straight years.
Right.
And now they have just hit a natural plateau. Because shoppers tried the private labels in 2022 purely out of necessity.
Yeah, they just needed to save money.
Right. But when they tried them, they saw that the quality was actually comparable to the expensive A brands.
So they just stayed.
Exactly, they stayed.
So they have a permanent baseline now.
They do.
And because of this permanent baseline, the supermarket is no longer one big fight.
No, it's not.
I mean, the data shows that the battle has split into 2 very different categories.
Yes. And this is a really crucial point to understand.
Okay.
You cannot look at the whole store as one single battleground anymore, because the rules change depending on what aisle you are standing in.
Okay, so what are the 2 categories?
Category 1 is commodities, and Category 2 is emotional and sensory products.
Okay, let's start with Category 1, the commodities.
Right. So this is permanent private label territory now?
Permanent.
Yes. These are items with functional parity.
Meaning the basic function and the quality are exactly the same no matter whose name is printed on the box.
Yes, exactly. So think about products like flour, sugar, white rice,
Okay.
basic dairy, toilet paper. There is very little product differentiation here.
Right. I mean, sugar is just sugar, flour is just flour.
Exactly.
And the data makes this very clear. Consumers simply refuse to pay a 40% premium for an A-brand logo on a bag of sugar
No, they won't do it.
because it makes absolutely no sense to them. So when the A-brands run promotions here, they're just wasting their money.
They really are. Every single euro an A-brand spends trying to discount basic flour or basic milk is just wasted money.
Wow.
Because the store brand has permanently locked down these commodity categories. The A-brands cannot win that fight anymore.
But then we have the second category, which is a completely different story.
Yes.
The emotional and sensory products.
Right, because these products are driven by entirely different factors. They are driven by taste profile, by trust, and by sensory reward.
Okay.
And in these categories, the A-brands can actually defend their market share against the store brands.
So we are talking about products where the purchase is tied to an emotion, or maybe tied to avoiding a risk.
Yes, exactly.
I would imagine baby food falls perfectly into that category. I mean, no parent wants to cut corners or take a risk there.
That is a perfect example. Parents buy the brand they already trust.
Right. What other products fit this profile?
Other examples would include chocolate, premium coffee, and craft beer.
Okay, so things where taste really matters.
Yes. Consumers want a very specific taste profile from their coffee or their beer. They want that sensory reward.
And they trust their favorite brand to deliver it.
Exactly.
But for these emotional categories, the pricing dynamic must be very delicate.
It is very delicate.
So how close does an A-brand price actually need to be to a store brand to make a shopper buy it?
Well, the entire battle for these emotional products comes down to the retail price gap.
The retail price gap.
Yeah. And we can define this using a very clear formula.
Okay.
It is called the 15% price gap rule.
The 15% price gap rule. How does the math work on this?
Well, let's start by looking at a very wide price gap.
They call wide gap.
We call that the 30% plus gap.
Okay.
When the price gap between the two products is 30% or more, the store brand wins easily.
Because the value proposition is just too clear for the shopper to ignore.
Exactly.
Let's walk through an example using real numbers. Like, imagine a shopper is standing in the aisle looking at two products.
Okay, so imagine an A-brand product costs $2.49 on the shelf.
2.49, okay.
And sitting right next to it, the private label version costs $1.49.
So a full euro cheaper.
Right. That gap is huge. It is well over 30%. So the private label wins that sale.
Because the shopper saves a full euro. The decision is very easy.
Yes. But the dynamic completely flips when the gap gets smaller.
Okay.
So this is the sub 15% gap.
The sub 15% gap. Explain that.
This is the territory where the A brand wins.
Okay.
So let's take that exact same scenario, but this time that A brand goes on sale.
Right.
So the price drops from 2.49 down to 1.79.
Okay.
Meanwhile, the store brand is still sitting there at 1.55.
So the difference between them is now only 0.24.
Exactly.
Right.
It's just 24 cents. And that difference is small enough to change the shopper's mind.
Right.
Shoppers will gladly pay 24 cents more to upgrade to the premium chocolate or the premium coffee they really want.
So the gap is under 15%, so the A brand wins the sale.
Yes.
You know, this math perfectly explains why hard discounters operate so differently than standard supermarkets.
It really does. Hard discounters like Aldi and Lidl, they use a strict strategy called everyday low pricing.
EDLP.
Right, EDLP. They do not run wild, unpredictable promotions. They just keep their prices steady and consistent.
And by doing that, they ensure their price gap against the E-brands remains very wide.
Yes, it protects their volume.
Yeah.
They never let that gap shrink down to 15%, so their shoppers never feel tempted to trade up to the A brand.
That is smart. How does that compare to the regular supermarkets?
Well, regular supermarkets use what we call high-low promotional calendars.
High-low. So high prices one week and low prices the next week.
Exactly. And this creates wild, unpredictable volume swings for their own store brands.
Right, because their price gaps are constantly expanding and collapsing.
Yes. It makes it very hard to maintain a steady baseline.
Okay. So with these clear rules in place and knowing the dangers of the promotion trap, what specific steps should these companies take to actually survive this market?
Well, we have a strategic playbook for both sides of the industry.
Okay, let's look at the FMCG playbook first, the strategy for the brand manufacturers.
Right. So rule number one is simple, but it is very difficult for them to accept.
What is it?
Stop simple price cuts.
But wait, if they stop cutting the price, how are they supposed to run promotions? Because they still need to drive sales.
They do, but they need to use volume mechanics instead of price cuts.
Volume mechanics.
Yeah, so they should use promotions like 3 for 2 bonus packs. Or they can sell packs that have 20% free volume inside.
I see. But how does that protect them from the promotion trap?
It protects their baseline price perception. The shopper still sees the single unit price on the shelf as high, so the value of the brand remains intact in their mind.
But they still get a deal based on buying more volume.
Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense. So if brands can't rely on simple price cuts anymore, they have to rethink the physical product itself.
They do.
How are they redesigning the packaging to protect their margins?
Well, that is rule 2 for the manufacturers. Redesign pack sizes.
Okay.
They need to create specific sizes for specific retail channels.
Like what?
For example, they should create entry-level trial packs for shoppers who have very little cash on hand.
Okay, smaller packs.
Right.
And on the other end of the spectrum?
They should create large family formats.
Right.
Because with a family format, the price per kilogram is actually very cheap. So it offers great value.
But the unit price on the shelf stays high.
Exactly. Which protects the premium image of the brand.
Smart. And rule 3, this deals with those functional commodities we talked about earlier.
Yes.
The flour, the sugar, the basic dairy.
Yes. Rule 3 is a tough pill to swallow.
What is it?
Exit basic commodity lines where private labels exceed 60% share.
Wow, just exit entirely.
Yes. If you are a brand selling basic staples and the store brand already owns 60% of that market, you have to stop burning your marketing funds to fight them.
Right, because you simply cannot win that fight.
You can't.
So what should a manufacturer do with that marketing money instead? Do they just save it?
No, they need to reallocate that money to R&D and innovation.
Okay.
They should use those funds to build high-margin, unique products that the private labels cannot easily copy. That is how they survive.
Okay, so that is the playbook for the manufacturers. Now let's look at the retailer playbook.
Okay.
How should grocers manage their own store brands in this environment?
Well, retailers must manage their store brands like real, authentic consumer brands.
Wow.
They cannot treat them like cheap shelf fillers anymore. So, rule 1 for retailers. Keep Tier 1 private labels tied directly to the cheapest hard discounter in the market.
Okay, so we are talking about the most basic, entry-level budget brands on the bottom shelf.
Yes. Retailers can never let a price gap open up at the bottom of the shelf.
Right.
If Aldi sells a basic bag of rice for 99 cents, your basic bag of rice must also be 99 cents. You have to defend that price point.
Okay, and what is rule 2 for the retailers?
Implement a strict 3-tier private label architecture.
3 tiers.
Yes, they need 3 distinct levels of products.
So what is the first tier?
Tier 1 is economy. The focus here is solely on matching rock-bottom prices for highly price-sensitive shoppers.
Got it. And what does tier 2 look like?
Tier 2 is standard core. This tier must match standard A brand quality perfectly.
Okay.
But it must offer a consistent 25% to 30% discount against those A brands.
Right. And the final tier, tier 3.
Tier 3 is premium selection. This is where retailers get creative. They offer unique recipes, organic certifications, or local sourcing.
Wow. Okay.
These premium selection products should actually beat standard A brands on overall quality.
That is a big shift. Now, there's one more rule for retailers.
Yeah.
And this one involves how they handle the promotions happening in their own aisles.
Yes. Rule 3 for retailers is to monitor promo gaps daily.
Daily?
Yes, because if an A brand launches a massive national 30% off campaign in your aisles, your Tier 2 store brand sales will suffer immediately.
Because the gap will shrink.
Exactly. The gap shrinks and shoppers will trade up. So you must monitor this dynamic in real time.
But how should a retailer react to that 30% off campaign? I mean, they don't control the A brand's pricing.
No, but they adjust their store brand placement immediately.
Huh.
They need to highlight the value of their larger basket offerings. They have to actively market their own products in the store to stop shoppers from trading up to the discounted A brand.
Right. And this brings us to a really interesting final thought here.
Yeah.
Because we see that FMCG management teams face intense pressure right now. I mean, they're desperate to restore their gross margins.
Very desperate.
But the constant trade spending and these heavy 35% discounts, they are just thinning out their profitability entirely.
It is an unsustainable model because the input costs remain unpredictable for these manufacturers, and those massive discount budgets, well, they cannot last forever. Eventually, the money runs out.
Exactly. And when those discount budgets finally dry up, the shoppers will likely stay right where they are.
Yeah.
I mean, they will keep buying the private labels for their daily staples. They will only ever pick up the A brands when the prices artificially dropped.
Right.
But taking a step back, looking at this 3-tier architecture we just discussed, it really leaves you wondering something bigger.
What's that?
Well, if private labels keep capturing the premium tiers with unique recipes, organic goods, and local sourcing, how long will it be before these supermarkets stop seeing themselves as just retailers and start operating completely like national brands themselves?
Yeah, that is the natural evolution of this trend. Because the market has fundamentally changed. The 15% rule and the divide between commodities and emotional products dictate everything on the shelf now.
You are listening to Global Signals by Andrew Drummond. Deep dives and insights about retail and FMCG.